1951. Harry Truman was President of the United States. Joseph Stalin was leader of Russia. The United States was in the Korean War. And the Soviet Union was backing the North Korean and Chinese forces in the war as well. However, when one thinks of small arms in the year 1951, there is one thing, or really one handgun, that is very synonymous with that year. Pistolet Makarova, or to us Americans, the Makarov automatic pistol. In this video, I will be showing you my personal Makarov and giving you an overview and a history lesson of it. So, let's get started. I shall first unholster the gun and do a check on camera to show you that it is not loaded. The Makarov pistol was developed between 1949 and 1951 to replace the Tokarev series of automatic pistols. The pistol was adopted after a Soviet Army requirement was issued for a pistol that was a lot less powerful, basically, than the Tokarev pistol. Yes, this gun is unloaded. The Makarov, in retrospect, or some might say, was copied a lot, or not really copied, had a lot of inspiration from other designs, most notably Germany's Walther PP, or Pistol. This Makarov, the Makarov was made by several countries, of which include the Soviet Union, Bulgaria, East Germany, and China. Some 9x18 knockoff pistols were produced in Hungary and Poland, for example, with the Polish pistols being the P64 and the P83, and the Hungarian pistols being the PA63 mainly. However, some other variations chambered for the 9mm Makarov cartridge do exist. This gun in question, or at least the one I am going to show you here, this is an IZH-70 made by Bakal chambered in .380 automatic. I used to own a 9x18 Makarov, but it broke a long time ago, so I sold it, unfortunately. There are the two magazines back here. This is an original Soviet holster. It's 1965 or 66 dated, I believe. And here's the actual handgun. It came with a rubber grip, which I believe to be a Hogue grip when I bought it 2 years ago, but I changed it out for a Soviet Bakelite grip. And, if I can get it in camera here, there is a Soviet lanyard right here. The holster actually I had sent over from Belarus, I believe. And the lanyard, I believe, came with my Nagant revolver when I bought it back in 2012. We'll take the gun off safe, and I will do another visual check to show that the gun is empty. The Makarov pistol, in my opinion, in popularity, was, in the Soviet Union at least, was comparable to the 1911 over here in America. Sorry about that. The pistols were pretty much everywhere, so to say. According to a documentary I watched, which I will post a link to in the description, the Makarov was one of the first handguns to be issued to civil aviation pilots after an airliner was hijacked in the Georgian SSSR in 1970. Alright. The pistol was also the first handgun in space because Yuri Gagarin, the first man in space, and with him being a Soviet, a Makarov was carried in his survival kit. After 1951, when the gun was introduced and accepted by the Soviet Army, the pistol was pretty much everywhere. The Tokarevs were slowly traded in for Makarovs as the years went on, and the Makarovs just became the go-to handgun for the Soviet Union. Sorry about that. It's got a bit of a cough here today, as you can tell. Oh, forgot what I was going to say. Oh well. Okay, I remember what I was going to say. I'm sorry about that. The Makarov pistol also was made in various countries, of course, like I said, and they had their own designations. The Bulgarians built them, however, at the time of this video, I do not know what the Bulgarian designation for the Makarov was. The East Germans built them as the Pistolet M, or which basically translates to Pistol M. M probably meaning Makarov, but I'm not entirely certain. And the Chinese built them as the Type 59. Allegedly, the North Koreans also use Makarovs. However, as of this video, I have not found any evidence showing that the Koreans use Makarovs, or North Koreans. I do know, however, they have a pistol that was loosely inspired off it called the Type 70, which Ian at Forgotten Weapons did a video on. I will post a link to that in the description as well. However, the Type 70, from what I could tell, is more of a Walther PP knockoff rather than a proper knockoff of the Makarov. With the little history lesson over, let's go to some basic information on the Makarov automatic pistol. The pistol came in one main caliber, and that was 9x18. However, when commercial models were sent over from Russia in the early 1990s, they had them in .380 automatic, which this one is. To field strip the gun is very easy. Of course, you want to verify that your gun is unloaded. Make sure it is on fire. What you want to do is you want to pull down the trigger guard, pull off the slide, and what I like to do is I like to take the recoil spring off and decock it and close the trigger guard. Because for me, it makes working on it a little bit easier. According to the Makarov documentary in the link, which is actually from the series Made in USSR, and which is of course a Russian series. You had to field strip and reassemble the Makarov in about 7-8 seconds, I want to say, to get at least an A- on the course. Because to my understanding, in Russian schools, I believe some students have to learn how to field strip certain firearms. For example, during the Soviet times, I have heard, especially from YouTuber Yevgens, who I think I've mentioned in one of my previous videos before, he had to field strip an AKM assault rifle in a certain record of time. You know, or a certain amount of time to like really just pass it or whatever. Yeah. Now, of course, this is what the inside of the Makarov looks like. You got your slide stop there, got your barrel there. I polished the chamber on mine because when I got it, the bluing was really just shot on it. I just figured it would look better if it was just in the white like this, so that's why it's like that. There's your hammer assembly, of course it is. Double action, single action, as I just demonstrated. Here's your recoil spring. Here's your slide. The slide you can field strip further by moving the safety up and pulling out the safety, which will drop the firing pin. But I do not want to mess with that, honestly, because for me it's just really just a finicky thing to do. I don't know if it is for other people or not, but that's just me from personal experience. The rear sight on this particular one, being a Russian commercial, is adjustable for windage and elevation. Right here is your elevation screw, which I've loosened it a bit so I can just move it with my thumb, or just move it with like a key or something, or do whatever I please. Oh, I could probably move it with a paper clip if I wanted to. And right here is your windage screw. Then of course you got your standard, just generic, non-adjustable front sight. Got IZH 70 caliber 380 ACP right there. Focus, damn you. Then over here on this side, you've got your serial number and B West, which is the importer. My pistol was imported by B West out of Tucson, Arizona. However, I do believe other companies imported them. One of them I think is, it's like Brown or Big Something Arms out of Dallas, Texas. And there's a company out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, KBI out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania that also imported these. I know somebody who has a 9x18 KBI imported Makarov, so cheers to that. And there is your reassembled Makarov. For the holster, it is quite an interesting setup altogether because there's an element that personally I believe on the holster, here's it open by the way, is copied from the Luger holster. That element, I'll holster the gun for a second so I can demonstrate it, is that on the Luger holster, if I am not mistaken, there is a strap where you can pull it up and it will pull the gun out a little bit, making it easier to draw your weapon. And I believe this feature is copied on the Makarov holster because there's a leather tab right here that you can just pull and make drawing your weapon a whole lot easier. Then, of course, also on the holster, you got your cleaning rod, which just generic cleaning rod, like you can stab somebody in the eye socket with, according to a video I saw on the Makarov once. I want to say it was by Firearms Rescue, maybe. Now, of course, you got two magazines. This magazine here, I believe, is a Russian military one that was scrubbed of its serial number, because there's very obvious grind marks on it right there. And somebody scratched or lightly electropenciled Mac right here. The other magazine is a Russian military one that has the serial number 589 on it, and -1, which means it was magazine 1 of 2 of a pair set. Because when the Makarov pistol was issued, to my understanding, do not quote me on this, but if any former Russian or Soviet soldier wants to come and comment and correct me, I believe the Makarov was issued with 2 magazines, one for the spare compartment in your holster, and one to actually go in the gun. Now, I do not know if you had to carry them cocked and locked or condition 3 or whatever it's called. So, if anybody could chime in on that, I'd greatly appreciate that. So, we will go ahead and put the whole kit back together here, and I'll wrap up the video because there's probably millions of more Makarov videos out there that are a lot better than this one. But I just wanted to do a little show and tell on my Makarov, I guess. And one thing I also wish to point out about the Makarov holster, for the spare magazines, I see people trying to put the magazine in like this. However, I do not believe that's the correct way because the magazines, if your magazine is not East German, there is a tab right here. If you put it down, it will scratch the side of the holster. I believe the correct way of putting it in is to put it in with the rounds facing up, like in the direction of the cleaning rod. Then you just slide it into about there, then you're good to go. Then, of course, you take your magazine, put it in the gun. For me, since I keep a loaded magazine in mine and keep it holstered, I like to keep it on safe. Which, of course, the safety Sallies out there might not like it, but it's me and my gun, so you can piss off for all I care. Then we'll button the holster back up. And there you go, one cozy little rig to write on your side. In conclusion, the Makarov pistol, in my opinion, is probably one of, if not the best service pistol out there. Sure, it might not be all that good compared to something like, say, the Beretta M9 for all the Beretta fanboys, and the 1911 for the people who worship John Moses Browning's design, although he was a good designer, don't get me wrong. The reason why I like the Makarov is because it's a really compact size, and it's a very easy pistol to use, in my opinion. And plus, with it being simple, if I recall correctly, there's about 25, 26 parts in the Makarov. Kind of like a communist car, like a Trabant or something. Not really all that many parts, so nothing can really go wrong with the gun. And plus, I've seen videos, most notably from Military Arms Channel, or MAC, or whatever you want to call it, of him torture testing, I believe it was a Bulgarian Makarov. And the pistol was pretty rock solid, except for when he put it in the water and the slide blew off, which I thought was completely hilarious, but that's just me. So, in the end, I just wanted to give the people, all of you guys on YouTube out there, a quick overview of the Makarov, or not really a quick overview, more just like show and tell of my Makarov, and basically give a few pointers on the Makarov, such as how the rig works, etc., and so on. Well, this wraps up this video. Have a good day, or night, depending on where you are, to everybody out there on YouTube, and see you next time.